Hey people, welcome back to the Music Survival Guide podcast. Once again, these things keep happening. That's good. That means that I guess we're doing something right. I know a couple of you are listening, and I keep showing up. Monkey's not here tonight, but I keep showing up, and I have another super cool guest tonight. But anyway, for us, as you know, you guys get this in a few days, a few weeks. Some of them take a little bit longer because, life is crazy, and when there's time to put these things together, we'll get it out there. Had an awesome guest for the last episode, DA from Shinobi Ninja. We went into Brooklyn. We saw his new print shop. We talked about some really cool music stuff. We talked about other art stuff, lots of really great things that are going on there. But today, for us, it is Friday the 13th. And this is our 13th episode. So, funny thing happened on the way to the office here tonight was we came down to record and nothing was working. So it's only appropriate that happened. So I believe this is being recorded, and I'm backing it up on my computer just in case. So Friday the 13th on Music Survival Guide for our 13th episode. And I'm very excited because tonight I have a super cool guest who also is a friend of mine for a very long time, who I rarely see. This is the poet extraordinaire, amongst many other wonderful things, Mr. Billy Lamont. Welcome to this thing that we do here.
Hey, so I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here. You too.
Yeah, I miss you a lot, and
thanks, Billy.
Awesome to be here. A little scared, but I'm here.
Well, it's Friday the 13th. Oh, shout out to Jason Voorhees. That guy does great work. Thanks, man. Anyways, so yeah, we're here. We tried to get this rolling for a while now. But our schedules were very conflicting for a while, but here we are. We didn't give up on it. We kept going. Texts, messages, faxes, carrier pigeons. We worked it out. So, yeah, Monkey's not here, unfortunately, so you won't meet my partner in crime. He had to do some late work tonight. But there's a number of things that we can talk about, obviously. Now, usually when I bring people onto the show, I have my little cheat sheet. I draw up or I write up or whatever a whole slew of stuff that I kind of want to say or want to get into. But you know what? For this tonight, I said, Billy, it's just you and I having like this casual kind of fun conversation is just going to be catching up, and we just happen to be recording it for people to listen to if they want to hear it, really, is what's happening. So I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I didn't even write anything down. I just wanted it to be us catching up, talking about what you're doing, because I know you're up to a number of things. I know you got a new book out, which we are going to get into, and I know you're promoting it currently and got a slew of cool things that you're doing to promote it coming up as well. But for a Music Survival Guide, you guys might be asking yourselves at home, if you're listening, be like, wait, music, you got a poet on there. That's weird. But this poet in particular has been someone who has surrounded himself with music for a very long time, has been in bands, but also you do have records out where you have a spoken word that is backed by sound, music, samples, a whole bunch of great stuff goes into your work. So, for those of you that don't know Billy, I always say let's take it back to the beginning. Now, you started off as a musician, or did you start off as a poet? I mean, why and how did you wind up doing this stuff?
When I was a kid, if I went in a room and I would play, a lot of times the stories would become writing, and I would write for family members to act out, and sometimes we would tape them, and so I think I always had that creative artist, like writer kind of spirit.
I get it.
Make up weekly shows for my younger brother, right, and stuff like that. I guess kind of
like me too. When I first started to do this stuff, it was weird. Like I found some like old instruments in our family attic, and I just started kind of messing around with them. I would pound on it. I would make my own instruments, and just But anyway, that's again, cool. It's not about me. It's about Billy. So you kind of were doing
nice, intimate
what I did, which is cool. I love. I had said to DA last week when we were talking. These shows are really fun for me because I'm a big music geek. I'm a big art geek. I'm just a geek, you know. I guess I'm a geek. I don't know.
You're a real artist. Yeah.
But these shows are cool for me because I wind up learning a lot about my guests too, as they come here and talk to me. And these interviews are fairly candid. We get into a lot of different stuff. We had Stereo Assassin, who's local. I don't know if you know Stereo Assassin, Kevin Caputo.
I know the name. I'm trying to.
He's been like in like the punk scene for a while, long early '90s. But he came on, and Kevin's really cool because he's got a lot to say, and he kind of really pulls no punches on it. So that episode, I was like, oh man, I was like, Monkey, I don't know. You know, some people might like get really pissed off about this one because, like I said, Kevin's got a lot of stuff to say. You know what I mean? Everybody's entitled to their opinion, so it was really, really neat. It was like,
I guess have this outlet. I
guess
that's punk rock, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Integrity. Yeah.
I guess he holds the most controversial episode so far. I don't think our episode's going to be very controversial, but I think it's going to be very interesting. So, give us more of
it's
that.
Wild.
Those
Controversy
stories.
Does tend to follow me, but sometimes sometimes purity is shocking or controversial, or I think in this propaganda age,
you're pretty honest, and honesty is sometimes shocking, if not always shocking, because it's like a tough pill to swallow nowadays. You know,
that's what I'm shooting for anyway. But what I love about this is it's intimate, and because of our friendship, the most intimate. I've done a lot of radio. Some of it's been national, some was local. You know, we did Stony Brook a couple of days ago. It was more, local.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Streams international. And my favorite interview, a lot of them are like, my favorite ones tend to be like jazz, kind of like this, like a real photograph of time.
For sure.
And so I almost feel like this gave us an excuse to
get together finally.
Yeah,
I guess. For sure, because we could still say that we're going to get together until we're blue in the face. But I mean, as you know, time flies. I noticed that more and more as time flies. I notice more that time flies as it flies, if that makes any sense. But it's crazy because the last time that I saw you, I think, was when we performed together in New York City. Was that the Living Room? Was that?
The Sidewalk Cafe.
Sidewalk Cafe.
And thank you for your kindness. And it was a tremendous performance
for a benefit.
You was stripped down for love, hope, strength.
Yeah,
for people fighting
really
cancer,
amazing.
Really,
which
you and Steve Messina from the Serial Poets,
they're great.
I was kind of blown away.
Steve to come on. Actually,
yes.
He just Steve Messina actually just put up a really, really beautiful photo of Billy and myself from a bunch of years ago,
2006,
when we were babies. At performing
Not that I go that far back.
at Walt Whitman's home, right? That's where we were?
His childhood birthplace, yep.
For another Billy Lamont kind of, I mean, I don't even remember what we were promoting that night.
It was like, I think it was a CD thing, but it was also, I was going to do the Creation Festival, but basically it was inclusive.
You asked us
were
to
a
play,
part of it,
which was awesome.
And
that I remember that gig so fondly, Billy.
I'm glad
we're gonna get into that. I feel like we're already kind of like in the middle of a conversation that we wanted to have. But you started to tell us how you kind of got on this kooky path that we and all of my guests here have followed, this artistic, creative, musical, poetic, whatever kind of path it is. So you started to tell us you kind of just started to entertain your family, and
yes,
and it just grew
and it
and
would
grew
take
and grew
different
and grew
forms. And it seemed like when I was in second grade, I would write my first poems, maybe about a TV show, or different things. Then as a teenager, it became
what TV show?
Oh, I can't remember. I was
Lost in
big
Space?
I was big into Batman and
na Billy.
As a little kid, I would run around in a cape and slide down the railings.
Do you still
and my
have the
mom
cape?
would be like, "Play no," but she'd be like, "Can you play
need
in the
a cape.
backyard?" Because I thought the teenagers thought I really was.
You need a cape. Billy needs a cape. If anybody wants to donate a cape to Music Survival Guide, I'm gonna give it to Billy.
So please,
so let's see.
BillyACape.org.
So seriously though, I want a cape. So if anybody listens to this, send me a cape. I want to give it to Billy. So Billy would entertain his family, which is beautiful. And then it just grew until your mom told you to go outside because you were bugging her. And then you started to
I discovered rock and roll.
All right.
And the
Here
neighborhood.
comes the rebel part of the story.
And then
this is where we go downhill.
It became rock lyrics, writing in a facade, having a great taste in music.
Well, I mean, you were singing too.
Yes.
Right.
And then it evolved into rock lyrics, and then it wasn't as a little bit, say I was 14, I'm trying to be tough, or 16, I was like a very like on the street a lot, and drinking rye, and my girl worries that I'll die, and it was like pretty bad, but it was kind of the facade. And I wrote this poem for women that called "You're Just as Beautiful." It was a sensitive poem, about that personality is important, and more like inner beauty. And
this
a couple
is
years
when,
later,
though? This is like in the beginning.
Yeah, maybe like I was like 14, but that's really was a big moment for me because, my world was rock and roll. So I really, I read the poets, but I didn't, I would write poetry, but I didn't know but what happened, my girlfriend, I was in the shower and she was looking through my drawers and she found that poem. She's like, "This is the best thing that you wrote." And I think it kind of,
that's a cool story.
It opened a door to more, like when you're growing up, you find in yourself. So I knew I was an artist, but I also knew survival or whatever else. That, I was on my own a lot as a young guy.
There's another 30 seconds ago. Your world was rock and roll, but you kind of wrote poetry. So, and then your girlfriend found this poem, and she said that it's the best thing that you've done, right?
My writing became poetry, but the only poetry that I connected with was in rock and roll. So then I started to sing.
Right, but I mean, before you started singing, before you started working in bands, now you were a lyricist first, or were you a poet before you knew you were a poet? Like what?
I think how
does that happen? What do we think of that?
Poetry before lyrics, but then. Listening to,
I mean, those kind of come hand in hand.
Yeah,
the poetry and the lyrics.
Bob Dylan. Okay. I was like, so I tended to like.
So your influences were even just if you were never a rock and roll guy, even if you were just an artist, your early influences came from musicians. Really,
a lot came from musicians, and some came from reading as well, and maybe what I discovered on my own or I discovered at school, and so I would study on my own. So it both kind of happened at the same time, but I think then the energy went directed towards music, and then I formed a band, Walk on Water. There was a band, Open Eyes, with a friend of mine, John Bebenek, and Steve Wolf, and then it kind of evolved into Walk on Water, and that was like my first.
And you sang in this band.
And I sang, and I wrote the songs, and then it was almost like I was better at writing songs than singing, but they were more musicians. So then they brought nice hooks to it, and it was just, they guided me along. It was almost like I was a better writer and songwriter than I was a musician, but I played guitar, but then it was always the better guitarist. So I was kind of like, I would fall asleep every night with the guitar in my hand when I was a teenager. Cool. Nice, nice. And I grew up as a busboy, and I was and then a waiter, to put myself through school, and I would just fall asleep every night with the guitar in my hand. And I had a memory. Did you see the Paul McCartney thing? When I was a kid, I loved the, it was after the fact, but I loved the Beatles,
right.
And I had a memory of there was a thing with the late night, like where he drives in the car and people sing with him, James Corrigan.
Yeah.
And Paul
that's
McCartney,
super cute and fun.
Yeah, and Paul McCartney did something, and he was talking about he had a dream of his mother.
He was on that show with James?
He was on, and it was like 20 minutes, but usually it's like,
I've seen a few of those. A friend of mine actually had turned me on to that, and he's just, I just want to pinch his cheeks. He's just this adorable, jolly guy. And I saw the one with Michelle Obama, with like they were hanging out in his car driving and singing, and man, that was really great. She's cool, man.
Yeah,
she's cool.
And all the different personalities, and he makes them feel comfortable. And,
Yeah,
and,
no,
and he finds
it's a fun show for sure. I mean, I got a kick out of it. I mean, there's just so much stuff that's on my like to watch and to listen to list that even in my lifetime here I'll never even get to. But I do know James's show. I know a few fun episodes, but
I've seen it once or twice. But there was something with Paul McCartney where he went back to Liverpool, but he was talking about his inspiration. And so it was funny, but it was almost like but he was saying that he had a dream of his mom, whose name was Mary, and that was the inspiration for Let It Be. And I had a memory of like, it's just interesting because of the energy today. There'll be like a point to this, but like that I used to, when I first had a guitar, my Nana, who I was very close with, his name was Mary. And I would play Let It Be and tell her about my dreams, and when I saw that, it reminded me of that. And I know she gave me a card. I have it somewhere where she wrote about it. And it's interesting because today, just like the local paper, I have roots in North Babylon. I grew up there in Babylon.
Well,
I'm not living there now.
You have a very romantic relationship with Babylon, which is neat because now I reside in Babylon. And I kind of understand why you're so fond of it because we're very comfortable there. It's beautiful. There's lots of great pockets of art and everything there, and it's a pretty open-minded little landscape there, which is great for people, like me and you to kind of hang out in, which is good. It's really neat. I like Babylon a lot. Yeah,
and my first poem, when my Nana passed away, I was grieving, and I wrote a poem, and my first poem was published in the Babylon Beacon, the local paper.
That's
so
awesome.
Today I just
Very
found
nice.
that they're promoting something with the book signing
The
in the Babylon Beacon.
Wow.
And it kind of like between the McCartney thing and that today, it got me really thinking about like kind of like those long friendships, and then like beginnings, I had this creativity, looking for wisdom, talking to my grandmother, praying, and then it found a form with my band Walk on Water.
Nice.
And we had some success, like in the Northeast. We had a music video, and I appeared on my first. It was actually syndicated. Monsignor Hartman, Father Tom Hartman from Telecare, had given me my start, like in an internship behind the scenes doing technical work and TV, and also my first music business connections. Cool. And so Walk on Water, he had me on the Religion and Rock show, which, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think there's ever been a guest on other than that one time. And now, Father Jim does it now, Monsignor Jim Flawn. But it's on BAB in Babylon, but it was syndicated nationally. So my first national radio show, so we're talking like 1988, I'm very, young and ready to just... travel the world,
sure, to get out there, for sure.
But like roots,
that's awesome.
There was like roots there.
This Walk on Water band, do you have anything available for us to actually play on the show, or do you have to dig out like some tapes or some reel-to-reels? And
I had like a demo tape, which
that's
what
we
played on there.
That is digital that lives that we can play on the show? Like you could send us, because again, this is pre-recorded. Can you send me the track and we can play it?
Can you take it from the music video that's on YouTube?
We can, and
so we could do that. It's probably not the best recording. I should probably
it should be right because it should be fine. But that's, me and Monkey have our delegated part of the podcast. Mm-hmm. He's like my mechanic,
So now he's so he's from NOC Cult? Is it Knox Cult?
Yeah, Knox means Latin. Knox means Latin. Knox means night in Latin.
Night, right. So Night Cult.
Yeah, and
awesome band. I was at Looney Tunes and I bought the CD.
The fucking live EP.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a great little thing. It's unfortunate that we didn't get past that, but thank you. People
all your stuff
still ask us about
that.
I have.
I missed some.
Well, we'll get into what you missed, and I'll just give it to you. But before I forget, because I'm taking some notes here, I can't see this pen. This pen is green, everybody, and it's dimly lit. and I can't see it too well. But Walk on Water. What's the song that I'm going to be able to get to Monkey?
Game of Chess with Love. Should I put a candle over there? Would that help?
I'm all right. No, I'll get through this. What's the name of the song?
A Game of Chess with Love.
A game. That's an awesome song title. Game of Chess with Love.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot's been written, but I was definitely like getting into the metaphor of the games that people play in relationships. And
as you expanded on your writing prowess or what have you.
And I think it was in Dante's Inferno. There was a chess game, and I was thinking about this. And Kanye West just did a lot of great. He has three new things, but he's coming from Inferno, from the artwork in Inferno. But that chess image.
Yes, but the chess. Let's stay there because I want to play this song.
Okay.
So we're gonna get it in here. Now, is this your first band? Can we say that this is your first band? Okay, Walk on Water. Billy Lamont, before he was a successful poet, he was doing music too, and you had some success with that, which is awesome. So A Game of Chess with Love is such a great song title, and I've never heard this song before, so it's it's exciting for me. And what's cool about what you've been doing, like with your social media, I catch a little bit lately, is you've been sharing a lot of your like history on those with some old pictures and all this stuff. And I remember seeing some of the Walk on Water photos, and I love that you do that. I love that you share.
A lot of people are saying that to me, and I felt like
no.
It's should I do it? Should I not do it?
No, it's been for me. I every time I see those, I'm like, God, I've been enjoying that so immensely. Those that you've been sharing that stuff. So
I always thought maybe that would be like self-indulgent and all.
But what I'm finding is social media is self-indulgent anyway, because if we're taking a picture of ourselves and putting it on the internet, that's completely pretentious. We all do it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
These are. It's like
it seems
you're giving us a
intimate.
walk. You know, you're giving us a history lesson for those of us that enjoy your work, for those of us that are your friends. I haven't seen these. You know, I was really little when you were doing that stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh man, it's so cool to see Billy doing this stuff. You know, in the beginning for you, which is amazing. So let's play that song.
Yeah,
it's going to be cool for me to hear.
Get a lot out of it too, because it's like letting people closer in the journey.
Well, that's it too. And there's having that relationship with the people that kind of like what you do or following you on Instagram. It makes it personal. They kind of are getting, for those people that really want to get it.
Yes.
You know, they are more in touch with you as an artist, as a human being and stuff. But anyway, let's get to the song, A Game of Chess with Love, and then we're going to continue our conversation. So here we go. The Walk on Water band of Billy Lamont. Here we go. Hang on.
Monkey, monkey, monkey.
Okay, cool. Now, again, I've never heard that, so that's really neat. I'm glad that Billy's sharing this stuff with me, with you, with us, with the world. So let's. What happens with Walk on Water? What happens after Walk on Water? Where do you want to bring us to next? Because I'm loving it already. You know,
we're
20 some odd minutes in, and I've already learned things. So again, that's why I love the show, because I learn a lot about my guests. And Billy bought me a very tasty beverage tonight, so that's good. The only person that's ever bought anything on the show was Trist, and she bought macaroons, and I've never eaten macaroons until the show. So we had they're okay. We had like a macaroon tasting on the show, which was really quite hysterical. If you haven't heard that episode yet, Trist, the artist Trist, that's
Excellent.
a very funny one. She holds the crown of our funniest episode. Stereo Assassin, probably our most controversial. So yeah, listen to the Trist episode. It's a panic. I mean, it's really, really funny. So anyways,
wow,
we walked on water with Billy. Where does the water take us?
Man, it has antioxidants in it.
Yes, I'm a big green tea drinker.
Drink green tea, everybody.
Iced tea is
to get that all the crap that's in our food to get it out. You know, like it's, you know, like been doing stuff for like Monsanto. You know, all this stuff. Like, can you label what's in our food? You know, there's chemtrails. There's even in water. We're drinking water. Like,
oh my
they don't
God,
even have to label. There's calories that they put on here, but they don't put
animal.
Okay, we're going to go back. Okay, reel it back in.
Oh, my God.
We're walking on water.
If we get into food and drinks and stuff, I mean...
But antioxidants are excellent. Well, sum it up with that.
Antioxidants are excellent. I try to eat blueberries every morning. But
what it led me next, I was interjecting poetry in between the poems. And
in between the poems? Or in between
the songs.
Okay,
poems in between songs. And I was into writing like these little proverbs and different kind of things. And it's kind of cool now. I want to put more of them out on like Instagram poetry, because a lot of people are doing that. And you know, but I've always in my books kind of had that feel where I enjoyed writing proverbs, almost like William Blake would do, or Dylan Thomas would write poems in the shape of an X or a diamond, and maybe I'll make it my own by putting interior rhymes or writing it about Generation X, you know, in the past when, you know, because, you know, like my generation or whatever, you know. And yeah, so when Walk on Water, I had put a lot of work into it. You know,
did you guys get a record out?
We had like a demo tape of like 3 or 4 songs.
A demo tape.
And it went
what
national.
Is that?
And
a demo tape?
It was a cassette tape, and it was 1988 or
that's
around
amazing.
there.
Do you have any more of those?
So
are they around? Are they like in the vault? Can I have one?
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And what happened, it was getting to people, you know, and I was working at MTV too, so it helped. So one of my friends was like,
you were in the right place at the right time then.
Yeah,
for sure.
And what happened, I was getting
MTV
around
in the late
people.
80s to work for must have been so cool.
And then someone had a video camera and they gave it to me for a day. So I had written a music video that ultimately would have taken days and lighting and all this, but he gave it for me to one day. So we went to Northport and we shot a music video. And I was like, in the 80s, there was a satanic ritual murder in Northport. But the Northport I knew was a beautiful town. But what gets all the press? The bad news,
well, of course,
you know.
Of course.
So I was like, well, you know, I had like a publicity thing with the, you know, I wanted to see how much publicity, you know, good news could have. Like, not just the spirit of death and sage around, but the spirit of love.
You know, that you called up this satanic cult to come on in and...
Yeah, so being as Friday the 13th,
yeah, Friday the 13th. We started off with nothing working, and I think we're working. But again, we got the computer to back everything up. So this historical conversation will be documented and will be shared with you very soon. And yeah,
but what happened? I went on the same ground as the Satan ritual murder, and I'm tapping my 1980 boots.
I love it.
You know, with you know, and you know, bringing life and showing how love and God's alive, and Northport is a beautiful town, and you know,
you're casting out the devil.
Yeah, and
Be gone, foul demon.
And I always was like I have a line in one of my poems: "Do not fear superstitions, run, run." Do not fear superstitions, run without inhibitions.
Nice.
But spiritually, my faith, without getting too much.
I know you're very spiritual.
Without getting too preachy.
You can say whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? It goes back to what I said before. Everybody's got an opinion. Not everybody's going to agree with you. But
yes.
You're allowed to say what you want to say.
And I listen to other people, so they listen to me.
This is a show for the people, by the people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
we the people.
So give it to us.
And it usually gets
say whatever you like.
For me, like a key, like in the spiritual realm, I had a spiritual experience where the lights kind of went on. First of all, spirituality is tolerance for all people, their beliefs. There's freedom of choice. That's what freedom is. Fascism is trying to control people, make everybody the same. So that goes without saying. Like I have a line in one of my newer poems, actually one with Mike Peters that got the Guinness World Record. I have a line about religion-fueled hatred is the worst kind of hate. Violence and death is her soulmate. So we know religion-fueled hatred is awful. But spirituality, what I found, the lights went on for me praying to Jesus. And it was almost like in the movies, you see like these crosses with like vampires and things. But to me, the blood of Jesus, like blood gets gory in movies and all this, but blood is very precious. It's our family line. It's our ancestors, people become blood brothers, whatever, an intimate relationship, a covenant, eternal covenant, marriage. And I believe the power is in his passion and his blood. So like in a way, underlying the art, there was a lot of symbols, a lot of levels to it. It was a pop song, there was I was from Northport, but there was an element of, we're here and, kind of justice, standing up for what we believe in and this kind of thing. And so it was like symbolic that it was on this ground, that there was a Satan ritual murder. But it's interesting, that kind of thing only got local press, but it got national with the Religion and Rock show. And in the Northeast, people were picking up everything. So for like the band being together, like on Saturdays once a week for a couple of months or every other week, it just like we had a professional photo shoot in Soho and free studio time. To me, It was like, boy, this is really going well. But everybody went their own way in the end. Sometimes you feel like you had a wonderful chemistry with Knox Cult, but sometimes it's letting it go and it takes you to a new point. Like say when you played at the sidewalk, the cancer benefit, and you played, man, you wrote something for your mom. There was like an intimacy.
Thanks.
I've seen you in his Mighty Robot days,
yeah.
And it's all brilliant, but in different ways. And that was like in a dirty Knox Cult and like that heavy, like
we were Knox Cult, yeah.
And then his Mighty Robot, brilliant. Any of these,
you're making me blush.
Yeah, but any of these should be were brilliant. But the intimacy, I got to get your therapy CD. But those songs, it's almost like, there are times, we have these disappointments or, like, oh, I wish that band didn't break up, but it turned into something. It made me go full force with the poetry.
Right.
And then I met Billy Poulos and I got into industrial music. So now I was more innovative. And I became even more of an artist. Because I went more towards innovating.
So, speaking of like industrial and sounds and being innovative and whatnot, Billy has on our table here a bunch of stuff, a bunch of his work, books, CDs, everything. What's the first CD that you released?
Okay, it was called Into the 21st Century.
Can I see that?
Yes. And it was 1998.
Oh, geez, you're going to have like a 20th anniversary reissue of this before the year's out. Now tell me, Into the 21st Century. I'm flipping through this.
So
and
the
this
thing
is
with
this
that
is from 1998.
So I metamorphosized into I put out a chapbook, did my first poetry reading, an open mic at the Northport Library, then in the East Village in a loft. It turned out to be a homeless dinner, and then they gave me the loft another day. And then I put out a chapbook, Eulogy Files for the Living. And then, prior to this, I had my first book out, The Gallery of Light, which was... There was kind of an explosion like in 94, but this was what was awesome about the first CD. Following the success of the book, The Gallery of Light, I actually wanted to put out a book and a CD together.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I had written The Gallery of Light, which is a 45-minute poem that I was calling the world's first spoken word rock opera. And the concept was I was using electronic music.
Right.
And world music, but it was a rock opera like, say, The Wall or Tommy or Quadrophenia.
Nice.
Or like Downward Spiral, a concept album,
Downward
like
Spiral.
Nine Inch Nails or whatever.
It's a great album.
But it was an upward spiral, which is actually the name of a friend of mine from Walk on Water went on and formed a band, Upward Spiral, and had some success with that. It was me traveling through 7 different lights or the character, starting off emotionally paralyzed in the fetal position. There was a point when I was... Which
you can be seen on the cover of this book.
And this kind of
The
morphed.
Gallery of Light. Can I see this as well, Billy?
Yeah.
I know this book. This is from 94.
Yeah, and that was the beginning.
Is this your first release, though, as far as Billy Lamont releases go? Right, there was nothing before this book. This book is like
the first above ground. Like I had a chapbook.
Right, no, I get
Underground
that too, because when I was younger, when I was in a band called New Mistake, that's very underground. We put out... Everybody asks me, they're like, you put all your discography on your website, but there's no New Mistake stuff. The story behind that is, like, with New Mistake, we just kind of like handmade tapes. No two were alike, you know what I mean? We'd give them out, and I would have my father like print stuff at his job for like the homemade like artwork that we would put out and everything. It's not that there was never any New Mistake music out there, because there was tons of it, but it was just never like an official thing. You know, I even cite the first Violet Daydream demo that we put out as an official thing, because we really did work that, and from that we got on a local label, and then from there came the CD that garnered us a production deal. But anyway,
I would always count it by the above ground thing, but now I go back. Now I go back and count those projects, because it's hard to know
exactly. And
like,
that's
then
awesome.
There's some things. It's like, is that a real release? Because I really didn't fully full focus.
Yeah, I support that thought process and everything. But the first above ground release is the Gallery of Light, which is the book that Billy was kind of talking about. He's on the cover in the fetal position, which is the start of this whole 45-page poem, not novella, but actual poem.
You know what happened?
And as seen on MTV. There's a sticker on the book, as seen on MTV. And as you know, still in the early 90s, MTV was a wonderful thing. Alternative Nation, 120 minutes, and Headbangers Ball, all that good stuff. So I'm gonna, as we get into your collection of goodies here, I'm just gonna move them over here. This way I know that I touched on them. You know?
Okay.
So we got the book.
The Gallery of Light, it started as a poem, a live poem that I was performing when I started doing poetry readings with music with Bill Poulos. And we were forming an industrial band, which actually spun off. Clayton, a tremendous artist, formed. He was into metal, and we fireworks went off, and we were together with Billy Poulos, and he went off to do Circle of Dust, which is really known.
Mm-hmm. I know Circle of Dust.
And Cell Dweller now. And so in my apartment, we were having original experiments. At the same time, I was performing live, and we had this. It was like maybe a 15-minute The Gallery of Light. And my first national TV show, the Joe Franklin Show, he was like, I had short notice. He's like, in the early 90s, Joe Frank, actually many years before that, it was the longest running show with Johnny Carson. He was like a wealth of information, from vaudeville to like the Ramones' first appearance, but like Humphrey Bogart had been on it, and Robin Williams,
super badass.
But then artist, it was like it was awesome. But he was so kind to me, having me on, and he's like, you got to do a 3-minute poem with music. In I think it was like 2 hours, and it was going to take me an hour to get there, and it has to be exactly 3 minutes, or we're going to edit you out of the show. So I went with Billy Poulos, and we're writing a song as we're driving, and we condensed down The Gallery Light, which was 15 minutes, into a 3-minute poem. Did it on the air. He loved it. He ended up giving me half the show and asking me back, and it was a wonderful experience. And he was comparing me to like Jim Morrison and people I shouldn't be compared to, you know, Patti Smith and Jim Carroll and
you
Bob
have a
Dylan.
Patti Smith shirt on today.
Yeah, I love Patti.
Don't
who's an
say
inspiration.
that people you shouldn't be compared to, because I mean that's people's opinion of you. You know what I mean? I mean, we've all been compared to probably bad things and great things, right?
Yeah.
So take them. You know, take them all. I mean,
I think there's something. You know, I tip my hat, and it's a compliment. But I hold so many people so much. I feel like, well, maybe someday, you know. But at the same time,
I love to hear what people think as far as like comparing what I've done to, you know, other artists. I remember I played at Pete's Candy Store with Emotion Picture some years back.
Is that still going? That was a cool place, that Pete's Candy Store.
I think it is, because I know a guy that is in like a free jazz band or something really wacky like that, and I think he was played there not too long ago. But it's a cool spot. But the funny thing, speaking of comparisons, and I'm only bringing this up because we mentioned the whole comparison thing, but someone after seeing Emotion Picture said, "You guys are like a cross between Refused, Jeff Buckley, and Rush." Now, Emotion Picture was just a 2-piece. I sang and played guitar, and I had a drummer. So that's a really wild, fun, kooky comparison. I will never forget that one. That sticks out very heavily for me as far as like stuff that people have said, like, "Oh, you sound like this," or "Are you influenced by that?" or whatever. That one was just a blast. I thought that was super fun.
One of the songs you played that blew me away, I think I asked you what album it was from. You said it was from Motion Picture, and I don't have that one, so I would like to get that one.
Yeah, I'll give you again, these I'm in these wonderful projects, and they don't have like the life expectancy that I want them to. Violet Daydream and His Mighty Robot lasted for a long time, and Emotion Picture was maybe like 2 some odd years. We had cut this brilliant single, so I have a few download cards left, and I'll give you one, and you could get the single. It's like a 3-song single.
Thank you.
And our intent was to make a full-length record, but again, we didn't get to that point, which was a bummer. But one day, when someone interviews me for Music Survival Guide podcast,
maybe this is half you and half me today.
Maybe you could just interview me one day, Billy.
Yeah.
But
I have
actually,
a
funny thing
that I got to add here. Did you see? I'm interrupting, then we'll go back.
No, go ahead.
But I just have to say this. Have you watched National Geographic's? They have the Genius Show, which has Einstein, it has Picasso episodes,
and
Ronnie Hazard. Well, it's brilliant. But something that's been hitting me lately, it's like there are people with artist souls. Like my son has it, you know. But like I love everyone's artist, but then certain people stand out that walk in the path more, and there's something brilliant, and it's kind of like messy because you're creating, you're always creating. It's almost like there has to be another person, but like it's almost like being in an indie kind of mentality. It's like you wear all these different hats, and it's very draining. But as an artist, it's very messy, and it's like a different hat that I've learned to wear more, and but the point is, sometimes people that are artists and like geniuses, like Einstein or Picasso, you know, whether it's science or art, they take away boundaries and they soar, they innovate, they pioneer, they do something so brilliant. But in their lives, it's like it's such a mess because they don't have any boundaries in their life. But what I've learned is there's healthy boundaries.
Sure.
And I had kind of walked away from things and being a single dad and having healthy boundaries. It would be great if, like, in their relationships and their families, you know, whether they were, you know, came from functional dysfunction, that if, like, so sometimes I think part of what's propelling me to higher ground now is backstage. I've kind of helped some people, and I've had my own journey of trying. I figured out a lot of this stuff on my own, but as an artist walking this path, that's one of the things that I love about you and our friendship, it's, you know, not everybody is walking it out, and you know, my son's going to walk it out now, and to be able to think
Godspeed,
for ourselves.
good sir, Godspeed. So, I mean, it's a tough.
You actually
tough
met my
road.
son when he was 4 years old. When I first met you, he was at a thing. There was an AMC Networks thing,
Right.
but the thing that I wanted to say and that I interrupted you was just that it's not an easy path, and it's not even something that is valued enough in culture, you know.
Mm.
So it's very messy, but really, Patti Smith.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't say this to me personally. I don't know. It was like on YouTube or an interview or something I heard her. She was talking about Blake, and I love William Blake. But certain artists, you know, they never have seen their success. It comes later. Like
When
William
they're
Blake
dead.
was so disciplined. You know, like Mike Peters of the Alarm, one of my heroes. It was like he wrote a forward to that book. He was like
Yeah, I know
a collaborator.
you like the Alarm, love the Alarm,
Yeah.
rather. Which
Yeah.
I want to mention a bit. We'll get into that in a little bit too. But go
he
on.
was like, he whispered to me once, I believe you
This
can
is
bring
Mike
poetry
Peters.
to the masses. You know, I had him as a guest at Lollapalooza. I was just happy to perform with him, and Ginsberg was there, and that's kind of how that whole collaboration started to come together, you know, from the first CD. And but what he would tell me, you know, someday you're going to bring poetry to the masses like no one before. I could see you filling Madison Square Garden, and imagine like one of your heroes saying this, you know. And sometimes we have discussions now that like
it's
sometimes,
wild when that happens, when you worship someone at a young age, and then you kind of get to know them, work with them, be friends with them, or whatever. I've been lucky to have a bunch of those occasions, and it's cool when they are like into your stuff. It's really weird. It's like a alternate universe.
I never had idols, you know, but like influences, and it's like you can't help. You try not to gush, you know, but at the same time, you're just like, wow, did that just happen?
Well, sure.
And,
I mean, it's great. It's part of it. You know, you get out there, you pound the pavement, and if you're doing it, you're bound to have these kind of, you know, meetings and occasions and all these kooky, fun, amazing stories. You know,
but now we talk, and it's like, you know, some people like Van Gogh, people didn't know them until after they're gone. But the thing about Blake was his, and it's the same for musicians. You know, all areas of your artwork, my artwork. You know, it's like to have the discipline to do it, and then there's where we'd like to see it go, you know, and you know, we have goals, but it's all,
we would
but
like
also
to see it go, yeah.
But
Whether it
at the
gets there
same
or not
time,
is one thing.
the thing is that joy of creation, and sometimes to me it's divine, you know, it's creation, you know, but other times it's at least human, you know, where in this robotic world, you know. How many times did we listen to a song, and it could be a sad song, you know, The Cure or Morrissey, you know, in the 80s or now, you know, but like it connects you, you know, it can be funny. It doesn't necessarily have to, you know, but you get uplifted, you know, and it's like, you're like, something's right about this, you know, as a sensitive person. So I just felt to mention that. But what was the original thought you were on? Because I didn't want to.
Oh gosh, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I mean, we got into a
spiral.
whole bunch of good stuff.
What are we talking about again?
Sad songs say so much. That much we know. We got into The Gallery of Light, which is Billy's first book from 1994. Is this still available?
Yes.
And it's available from your website, or is it available on like Amazon or wherever?
I believe Barnes & Noble and Amazon still have it.
All right,
and for me, you know, BillyLamont.com, you could always get things. Some things are sold out.
1998 saw the release of the Into the 21st Century CD, which has a lot of those innovative sounds that you first started to kind of mess with from this
what was
time
cool,
of your
like
life,
the
right?
Gallery of Light. Now that was kind of like, I was on MTV, did the first tour at Lollapalooza. Then they asked me to go the next year. I was the only poet. Well, the late Maggie is Step. You know, she did one day
was cool.
in New York. Yeah, I loved her.
She was fun. I remember like she did when I was little and getting into MTV and stuff. I remember she always had like these promos, like almost like the bumpers for MTV, and she was cool. She was real cool.
Yes, she's cool as a person,
she's somebody
too.
else that honestly, right now at where I am in life, like an adult now, she's somebody that I have to go back and like reinvestigate. So I'm going to do that sometime shortly after our episode here. But go on, Maggie, a step, and Lollapalooza. Billy did the first Lollapalooza, guys. I mean, how...
It was actually 94. The first one was what, maybe 91, but still,
okay,
it used to be a tour
early on. Yep. When Lollapalooza was like a real thing, not like this.
And then I was the only one that they asked to do more dates in 94, and then I did other dates in 2003.
How cool is that, though? I mean, that's pretty wonderful.
And MTV, so there was this energy, and then I was doing book signings. So like I had this, so now I'm going to be doing the things at Barnes & Noble, but B. Dalton's, they used to be the bookstores in the malls, most of us remember, the younger people might not, but now the Barnes & Nobles are outside. But the idea into the 21st century was, I just had all the success doing book signings in all these malls for Walden Books, B. Dalton, which is actually Barnes & Noble, and traveling, and I was like, the next thing is Borders were starting to come. So I was like, well, what if I do a tour of Borders? I'd like to put a book out with a CD, which on the business side was, because I have this spoken word rock opera. So into the 21st century is going to wet people's whistle kind of for like future things that are coming from me. And what I probably should have did is focused on one or the other, but I ended up making the Gallery Light into a CD with DJ Circuit mix. But yeah, into the 21st century, Radiohead. Oh man, I wish I had money to go see Radiohead.
Yeah,
I
like
never saw Radiohead
for like a whole week.
Yeah,
there or something.
4 dates. But they had a flow to their stuff. So this had like a flow. Even though it was like an EP, 15 minutes, there was like a flow to it. And I put all of life into it. I'm driving in a car.
Well, I'm going to have to break up the flow, though, because I would like to expose our listeners to something off of this.
Thank you.
What do you think? I always like to ask, if you were to turn a total stranger on to this thing in particular, I guess, what would you play for them? This is 7 tracks. It's an EP. It's 15 minutes. You said, right? But what on here is gonna grapple somebody in hardcore to be like, holy moly, I have to check out that whole thing?
I think this whole, even though it's 15 minutes, it's I feel like it's one of my best works of art.
I get it, though. I totally understand that.
And the flow, like it goes from, it begins and ends with acoustic, but it goes into like a poem on a phone call, electronic music, to being out in a jungle, to in a car, to like, I love, it's very cinematic and seamless. But the thing to introduce people would be, because most people know Allen Ginsberg from Howl. It's one of the biggest poems of our time.
Sure. Okay.
And he had turned down, Paul McCartney, the Beatles, Beck. He never wanted to split up Howl. It's like a 13-minute poem, 15-minute poem.
So are you uncomfortable with splitting this up, though, if we were to play one thing? Is it like
not
against your...
at all.
Okay.
But if there's one track, I'm just saying, like the way I see it as a I love it. I love the whole thing. But I think Into the 21st Century would be the best track, because it's the title track. And Mike Peters from The Alarm was playing it, and Allen Ginsberg let me sample from Howl. So I'd like to dedicate this to the late Allen Ginsberg. He showed so much kindness, love, and support for me. And it was a benefit for Teen Challenge, and I was a relative unknown. And he turned down Paul McCartney and Beck, and it showed a lot about him. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing is just how this conversation is intimate. Mike was like, oh, boy, this could be like a hit song. Should we produce this up? And I'm like, I just want to keep it acoustic, how it was an improv at Lollapalooza. Then he announced to the media we're going to make an album. And I met Beck.
That's
and
cool.
then the next day, Beck was there. And Ginsberg came. I realized, but I spent time with him at the Cooler after that. But to make a whole long story short, the reason that Ginsberg liked it a lot, he was very into Dylan and the Clash, and he liked the handwritten letter I wrote to him, and the soulfulness. I knew there was. His office was like, he turned down Paul McCartney. Don't even try this. I don't want you to get disappointed. And I just was like, yeah, but you got to listen to it. There's so much heart and soul, and there's like a purity to it, you know? And he felt it. And so to me, it's a good introduction. It's a very special
Well, that's
track.
awesome. I mean, that got you like rubbing elbows with the greats 20 years ago. So Into the 21st Century, the title track from this CD that is going to almost be 20 years old. We're going to celebrate it right here, and we're going to play Into the 21st Century. So thanks for sharing that with us. Here we go, Into the 21st Century, Billy Lamont.
An adult lies in the fetal position in a strobe light generation, addicted to dreams of midnight impulses and sugar passions, screaming, "My bedroom, a jail cell! My bedroom, a jail cell!" A baby left in city traffic, getting fitted for a mental straitjacket. A sunflower with a snake at its root, a cherry tree that needs to bear fruit, metaphysical visions of a paraplegic soul.
I used to be a sweet and innocent child, see the world in pictures of black and white. Now it's all fading into one big crazy 21st century attitude.
I love you. I love you from the bottom of my current frame of reference. Of course, in a few years, I could have a new preference. I love you. Microwave romance.
I can't move, I can't sit still. Positives and negatives are making me ill. I can't speak, but I'm not dumb. I might look like a hero, but I feel like a bum. Into the 21st century, a schizophrenic virtuality. Into the 21st century, I'm bitter, I'm twisted, I'm cynical me. Is this what you wanted? Is this what you really want? Is this what you wanted? Is this what you really want from me? Into the 21st century. 21st century.
I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked, dragging themselves from the Negro streets at dawn, looking for an angry fix. Angel-headed hipsters burning for the ancient heavenly connection to the starry dynamo in the machinery of night.
America, America, this is no Kurt Cobain suicide, because sometimes I feel as if your soul has already died.
I saw the best minds of a generation dial up destruction with needles and guns. Saw the blue sneakers, the bloodstained carpet. The media smiled, it got what it wanted. Into the 21st century, a schizophrenic virtuality. Into the 21st century, I'm bitter, I'm twisted, I'm cynical me. Is this what you wanted? Is this what you really want? Is this what you wanted? Is this what you really want from me? Into the 21st century. 21st century.
Well, it's a Van Gogh morning on this Gumby earth, and you, with your Mother Teresa heart and your Cat in the Hat smile, should know the meaning of life lies within you. Dr. Albert Schweitzer and a kazoo. soul metamorphosis, crucifixion and resurrection, a poet that is a poem, a creation that can create, the subconscious, sunlight, love conquers hate, love conquers hate.
Is this what you wanted?
See,
Is this what you really want?
with the eyes
Is this what you
of
wanted?
angels.
Into the 21st century.
Thanks for listening to that one from Billy Lamont. Billy Lamont, Billy Lamont, Billy Lamont. I'm going to say that so many times tonight that you are going to just want to know everything about the guy. But
Thank you,
so
sir.
we've been thanks for hanging out tonight. I love this. You know, I could do this till the sun comes up, but we only have a certain amount of time. You know, and people have no attention spans now anymore anyway. So our show is for those of you with long attention spans.
That's why I made Into the 21st Century.
15 minutes, yeah.
Yeah,
so
because
this way,
the whole thing
before
was
they
45
check out-
minutes.
Yeah, but this is also 20 years ago when people kind of had more of an attention span. But after this, what came next? What do we got? Like I said, there's a whole collection of Billy on the table, man.
I want to say Strobe Light Generation because that's about
Give me it. Hand it
that's
over.
about the short attention
This
span.
one
But
I
this
know
is
a
more
lot
like I Met
of-
You.
this one I know a lot
2005.
about.
Yeah, but
Okay,
really the
you
next
know
thing
what's-
was Billy Lamont with the Peculiar People.
This one I don't know at all.
Yeah.
Wait, Billy Lamont with the Peculiar People.
So now
this
when I
is
first
another-
met you, we
this
would
is
open
another
shows for each
CD.
other. I would do
This-
sometimes stuff from that, like because I remember, like, say
This
you
is
were Came
another
to All
CD.
Women, then I opened up for you a couple, and then sometimes I would
What
play.
year is this
when I
one
had,
from?
So that it was written in 2000. It was supposed to be. Now there's another legendary guy, Larry Norman, who they call the father of Christian rock, who opened for the Doors and Hendrix. He was on Capitol Records, but he was kind of like a follower of Jesus that was very talented before, like he influenced U2 and all these people. But he, a radical guy, he had passed away, but he was, a lot of my
2000?
energy,
2000?
a lot of my energy at 90, after the 21st century, I met him around the making of that. He had like this legendary label, and he wanted me to be a part of the new label, and everybody he's backed got really famous and stuff. But Allen Ginsberg had passed away, so like probably as far as the public eye, if he would have lived, I would have been more known. And then Larry Norman went to go see. I wrote a whole album, which included. I had opened in the middle of a church in Pennsylvania. I opened up for him, and there was someone there, Roseanne Pierce, who was one of the people that discovered the Fugees, and she's like, "I want to help you, Columbia
Nice.
Records," but she was leaving. And I'm like, what? You know, but I was already, I thought I was being loyal to Larry Norman.
The funniest people are wind up finding you out there in the wild.
Man.
Because that happened to when
That
I was
happened
in
to
Violet
you?
Daydream. Kelly Price, who was Whitney Houston's backup singer, was the
Wow.
one that got us a production deal when we were real young. And
So
that was
cool.
amazing, and it wound up to be another one of those kooky stories that just didn't have a happy ending, but it was a really neat experience to have. It kind of tore us apart being that young and having that and not having it turn out the way we wanted it to. But it was cool. I might not have all the money in the world from this stuff, but I've got all the cool stories. I'm in like the top 3 of all the cool stories, guys. Don't believe what anybody else tells you. I've got all the cool stories. Aside
I
from
love
Billy.
Whitney Houston.
so.
I remember praying for her through the
Yeah,
years
Whitney's
I was
great.
like,
It's a damn shame what happened to Whitney.
It made me say I never met
real
her,
shame.
but just
Well,
from
yeah, me
an
neither.
observer, it just made me so sad. But there's just so much inspiration and life around her.
she was. She was phenomenal. But
So this woman introduced me to the collaborators on Billy Lamont with the Peculiar People, which was supposed to be an album for Larry Norman.
This is like the ADD. This is the ADD episode. We're like, here, holy shit, I hope you're
What
keeping
were we
track. Oh
talking
my
about
God.
again?
There's going to be a test at the end, you poor things.
The electronic music now was at the point where there was house music and drum and bass and this kind of thing. So now I was putting my poetry with that. And I don't know if you
Right.
remember, but I would do a thing like with a bullhorn and all this and protest.
When I've seen you perform like with backing tracks. I've seen you perform completely, null of any sound whatsoever. And I've seen a lot of the in-between, which is cool. So, yeah. That's why I'm excited to have Billy here, because it's a little outside of the norm. We've had all musicians, I guess, in at this point. But you're a poet who was a musician, who is still a musician, is just, again, back to the many hats, figuratively and literally, because you do like to wear hats, like in actual reality, right?
Sometimes.
I'm a big
bad
hat wearer.
hair day.
Not tonight, though, because it's just too damn hot. I'm freshly buzzed, so I'm just letting it all hang out tonight. Anyway, Peculiar People. This is another CD. Now, is this one still available?
It was originally,
because this
I didn't
one,
have the
you know
money,
what?
and I made a chapbook, and I was making it was like, you know what happened when I toured with Lollapalooza? In 2003, I made some poems because I would recite for different causes. So I do an environmental poem, for Greenpeace, and then I was touring with Jubilee 2000, or Jubilee International, Jubilee USA. I would do poems for Amnesty International, and so I would have a poem, and then they'd sign petitions, and I had the websites on it. So I made a chapbook. So then when Larry's when he went to see Bono's dad passed away, he flew to Rhode Island, and then Larry had a heart attack, and we're getting around 2001. I had written this, I kind of bled into this whole album. So half the album kind of turned into that, and another later on, Hedge of Thorns, but not really, but kind of. Oh man, I forgot where I was going with this.
ADD. This is the episode for you. Can I help you find where you were going with that? Peculiar People.
The Peculiar People.
Lollapalooza, Amnesty International.
It was originally a burned CD in the book from Lollapalooza. Okay. And then as
super DIY. I had I was kind
of like a single dad there, so, I might have been changing diapers, and all of a sudden I was with the Orchard, because it was the East Village when Into the 21st Century came out. I was around the East Village a lot in Manhattan, and they had a distribution company, which, so I was in with them, and then as they grew, as I'm changing diapers, all my stuff went out digital, and it was really good for me, and then MySpace was really good for me.
MySpace was great, and especially in the beginning, lots of fun, and being like a musician, artist, or whatever, and being like, I remember His Mighty Robot when we were super fresh. We were like one of the first bands on MySpace, believe it or not. We were like kind of making history at that moment, because I remember that.
I remember you on there, but a little later.
Shortly after that. Maybe I don't know.
When were
like
you
that
on
week.
there? I think I went on there like 2004, 2005.
I don't even know. But when MySpace first got into like the music game, I know His Mighty Robot was like the #1 artist on MySpace for like a week, which was just
awesome.
Cool. It was just cool. It was fun for us.
We
were really
Barrett.
young, and it was just fun for us. Yeah, Barrett was a part of that for a while. His Mighty Robot had a number of member changes. Barrett hopped ship right after we put the Conflict out, but again, His Mighty Robot is a show unto itself. I mean, that's a story, man. That is a story.
Now, I believe I have 3 His Mighty Robot CDs. I believe.
Well, if there are
the
3,
Conflict was the third one.
Well, the Conflict was our full length, which was a concept record, and then before that was the
rose on the cover.
Open Your Mind was the EP before that. But if you have a third thing, it would be one of like the promos that we made, because we made Prelude to the Conflict, which was strictly limited to 80 copies, signed, numbered, all hand done, and then we did like a preview to the Open Your Mind EP, which had 2 tracks that were not even finalized, which is super rare, and there were 100 copies of that thing. All that stuff went super duper fast because we played a lot, and at that time, like, we were just kind of striking a nerve here and there, which was nice. So we were able to get rid of a lot of things when we were doing it. But you have 3 CDs, 3 His Mighty Robot CDs. That's funny. You must have one of those.
I think I have one of those originals.
then.
But there was one with a notebook There was His Mighty Robot, there was a Notebook, and then The Conflict.
Oh man, that's the one that's 100 copies before Open Your Mind, which has Birth and To Flourish to Burn on it, like the unfinished, unmastered, or whatever, unfinalized, or however we would call them, versions that wound up on the Open Your Mind EP. So that's an incredibly rare.
I love it. It's been
rare one.
A while since I listened, but you know how like The Cure, you could hear a friend of mine burned something like when they were like punky, and it was a little more like. You know, it's almost great that they weren't recorded that well, but then it evolved. Like you could see. Yep. I love that evolution because I love each part of it. But it's been a while. Like I used to be able to say that song. This I can't. But I just remember right now the feeling, you know, of. And then man, it's almost like I believe His Mighty Robot ended after The Conflict. Is that true?
No. I was going to say not necessarily. No. We'll talk about this for a second again because this is your show. But thanks for letting me get some of this in there because I love talking about this stuff. I do. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. But after the conflict,
jazz,
Barrett had suddenly left, which was like a crazy situation for me and H Rocker because we were like, we just put this thing out. We spent so much time and money doing it. So her and I decided, we were like, screw it. Let's go away for a couple weeks and just kind of try to support this as an acoustic duo because that's his Mighty Robot started just as me, a solo acoustic singer-songwriter. And then 6 months into that, H Rocker came on board, and she was the other core component of his Mighty Robot majorly. You know what I mean? She was with me from then until the end of the band. I miss her immensely, and I wish that I could make music with her again, but she's no longer with us. So
I'd like to play something for her, like. First of all, I met you in 2004 at this AMC thing, and we hit it off right away. And my son was like
ask
2 or 3.
To refresh my memory about how we met.
We met.
So this is good because I wanted to bring this up too. So let's tell me how we met.
We went at an AMC like barbecue thing, and the interesting thing is, I met you. I was with Ted Sheriff, who I love, the late Ted Sheriff. Later, I would meet H Rock and. H Rocker.
Heather.
Yeah.
My wonderful little Heather, man. So good. Such a talented soul she was.
My son was like maybe 4 years old, and around the same time I hit it off with Balapta Kashmir, who was playing in front of hundreds of thousands of people, and all.
Yep.
And he was there that day, if you remember. And he ended up collaborating on my last CD, Beyond Babylon, which was kind of like the same flow, but in a modern sense, but a full album where the Into the 21st Century was 15 minutes, but it's now more of a half an hour. So it was just a wonderful memory of some people that it was the beginnings of people that I love and will have long-standing friendships. But now,
so cool.
You and H Rock are playing at the Walt Whitman birthplace, which was such a great day. I got to know
that
her.
Was such a great day.
And we got to do something together. One of Walt Whitman's poems.
I still vividly see a lot of that gig in my head. It's so weird because after all these shows and all these gigs and stuff, some of them I just don't remember. Some of them are like a total blur. Some of them are like with 18 other gigs all in one ball of madness. But
like blurs.
The Walt Whitman performance, I mean, I remember just being so very honored that we were asked to perform there, which was so cool. And then to be asked by you to back you very spontaneously on one of your poems, it was super cool for us. We had a lot of really cool, different, amazing, bizarre things happening for that band throughout the course of it, which was it was so great. I think that his Mighty Robot, out of everything, is probably my favorite. Not to diminish anything else, but his Mighty Robot's very, very special. I remember being asked specifically about our song "Sad Boy" that we had performed too, because The Conflict is a concept record based on that character, Sad Boy.
Mm-hmm.
I remember playing that song very ferociously that night, and a few people specifically kind of like asked us about that, which was cool because I was like, well, that song, that character is like the centerpiece of the conflict, really.
Kind of breaks you down a little bit, really.
Well,
a
lot of the, I don't want to say that it was heavy-handed because I don't think it was heavy-handed, but I mean, it was heavy, that
profound
stuff. Deep, crazy, intense time in our lives, you know, as young people exploring relationships and love and sex and not for me, drugs. You know, I was involved in any of that stuff, but yeah, again, like I said, God, the His Mighty Robot story is just 7 years of very intense stuff. I mean, my God, I always say
when
that
you
I want
that kind of stuff too.
I want to write the book about His Mighty Robot. People have asked me, they're like, "Why don't you write a book about your life?" I mean, it's wild that people even would tame the idea that they might be interested in such a thing, which is, you know, very flattering. But His Mighty Robot, especially, is a story. My God. But anyway, again. Billy.
When you put that much into the performance, it's draining. And sometimes when you tour,
though,
and it was awesome and beautiful to behold, and it, I think, brought our friendship to another level. Sharing that, and H Rocker, it connected me with her. I didn't see her much, but we would do other gigs, and I would see her. And
you say
she's a beautiful person.
You say that you connected with her on that gig specifically. You've said this to me a few different times, a few different occasions. Can we have a little bit of that story, even just for me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like recount something for that. I might not have been present for some of that conversation.
A lot of it was not even words. It was just her presence there,
her energy,
being on stage. And just her kindness, her artistic being, and I remember in Babylon there was like a coffee shop, Zenden or whatever I was doing. I opened a few. I think I might have did something in Belmore, America. I opened up a few different things for you, but when she was
might
there,
have been Pisces Cafe.
And the Pisces,
because
Pisces was
Pisces
one.
was in Babylon, right by the train station.
Yes.
And Justine and Jeff, who own Pisces, they're amazing. They are true.
Oh yeah, the
like
Pisces.
rebel souls.
Oh yeah,
and
I love them.
I ran into Jeff maybe a couple weeks ago in Argyle Park, actually, because me and one of my best friends were just walking and getting our exercise on, and it was a beautiful day. And I ran into Jeff
over there. I would run into him in Argyle,
and I haven't
He'd
seen
have like
Jeff
a straw
in a while.
hat on, and
he's a pisser, just wild,
Yeah.
and he loves to talk to you. So he just kind of grabbed us.
Great soul, I love
and
him.
we walked and talked with Jeff, and Jeff's somebody too that's just got all these crazy stories. He told us so many wild stories just within the course of like our little extended walk with him. It was so fun. And my sisterhood, Jem, you know, she was there, and she was like, my God, I love him. I want to just listen to all of his stories because he's that kind of guy. So I don't know, maybe one day he'll hear this episode. Jeff's funny. He's like kind of off the radar as far as like the internet goes too, which is also something I really respect.
Yeah. Now the Pisces,
he's cool. Yeah, they
always enjoyed when I run
always to do something else too. Him and Justine, he even mentioned it just a couple of weeks ago that he's not giving up. He wants to have something like that happen again. That was like a movement. It was like a movement over there. You know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, go on. Tell us about the H, man.
Just at the different gigs, like, you know, even, you know, they would say there was a lot of negativity coming towards me at a time, and I would come and just now you're in community, you know, with Jeff and Justine, what they were creating and what you were creating at the gig, and then for me to let my soul out, my voice, to bear my soul, and you know, and people are listening, and you know, like there was like such a joy to it, you know.
That's
and
good. I'm glad you have these fond memories.
Just,
I mean,
like giving me a hug, you know, I was like, wow, you know, like what are you know?
Well, we were very. I mean, me and my people, my groups of people have always been very, you know, liberated and embrace everybody that ever kind of came in or out of our group of people. You know, I right now in my life too, I happen to be surrounded by wonderful group of people that I'm very blessed to have their company, their friendship, their camaraderie, everything. It's quite amazing. It's just amazing. I think about these people and I get all like all giddy, you know.
I think that,
but
she's a wonderful person. Let's remember her today.
And you have this feeling, you have these stories, you recount these memories. You know, I mean, it's amazing.
It was a good vibration, and let's remember her today, and maybe you could pick a song from His Mighty Robot that we could dedicate to her. And
oh wow, that's amazing. You know, since we're on the topic, there's when I guess this past April, I think she was gone for 6 years, and I never went to her. I never went to her gravesite just until a few months ago. Believe it or not, I went there.
Wow.
I had never been. I talked about it. I went, and I left both of the His Mighty Robot CDs there, you know, just to let her know that I was there. I mean, I know she knows I was there. She's probably like, fucking finally, man. There was really no reason why I never went. It was just, I don't know. It's weird, you know. I've lost a lot of people in my life throughout the course of my life. At an early age, I was just I was losing people, you know what I mean? I know people that are like in their 30s that for the first time are experiencing death, which is like wild to me.
Yeah, one of my friends, actually at 17, two close people to me died. So I think like artist souls like us, it's kind of like, it makes you question.
That, it was weird. And when I was 4, when my eldest sister died, you know, so I mean that's something, you know.
Oh, sorry, man.
So, but oh my God, here's the dark part of our show, of our episode. But yeah, I finally went to visit the H, and I felt so great. Finally, like it was like on the bucket list, you know. Finally, just to go, even if I only ever go that one time, I just finally went. I left the CDs there. Her legacy,
awesome.
her fucking legacy, you know?
Yeah.
We were very close. We had a lot of ups and downs, but we always were His Mighty Robot throughout the course of all that crazy stuff. Throughout the course of it all, me and the H were His Mighty Robot. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Won't say that I am His Mighty Robot or was His Mighty Robot solely. I started it. I wrote the core of what was going to be the Open Your Mind EP before she came on board. But with her, there was, aside from Mike, who was in Violet Daydream and who worked with me in A Boy Called Soda, and His Mighty Robot at the end, Mike came on for like a year as our bass player. Aside from Mike, the H was somebody that I never felt more comfortable playing with. You know what I mean? Somebody that I communicated with so well sonically and artistically, and I just remember sitting, you know, on a kitchen floor and just writing these crazy songs with her, you know what I mean?
The chemistry, and it's like, man, it's like to be on the same page artistically, and you could start at a certain point and then soar. It's like it's hard to explain unless you've experienced it, you know?
Absolutely. And I mean, it's really great that we're, you know, singing her praises tonight. It's just a great thing. Like,
yeah, man.
Back to what I was saying about like a lot of people coming and going throughout your life just because they pass, not because you don't speak to them anymore, just because of whatever reason. But aside from, I don't know, my mother and maybe my sister, maybe a few others, I mean, the H is like, it's like you get over people's passing as much as you can. You know what I mean? Or I don't know if you're ever fully over it. You know what I mean? Like, am I fully over my mother passing away? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if that's possible. I could tell you I'm over it, but I don't know if I'm over it. Like, mentally, emotionally. I mean,
I get it, and there was
definitely not over the age.
and love
I mean,
is
I can tell you
eternal,
that.
right? So everything in this world is temporal, entropy, but love goes on.
Yeah,
and that was sending love. I believe we're energy, and I have my own thoughts about the afterlife and all this, but just to break it down to now, it's wonderful you went to the graveyard, but even more than that is to talk about our memory and the love and keep it alive. And
I do. I talk about her all
it's
the time.
hard.
I mean,
It's hard. Like like with
at home,
parent-
we talk about her. People still are enjoying his Mighty Robot.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Even if one person says something to me about that band, it's really nice to know that it's a remembered thing. I mean, it should be remembered because I think his Mighty Robot was an important band. I don't say that because I was part of it. I mean, I think it was very important what we sang
too.
about, how we, delivered the band. I think that might be some of the most important stuff I've ever written with that band, as far as like topics about like just the human condition, is
it's timeless.
But I mean,
it's resonant.
God, we want to dedicate a song to the H, right? We want to do that. That's so cool. What his Mighty Robot song could we dedicate to the H? Maybe a song called "Connection of Fingers," which was a very romantic song.
Awesome.
Very personal song about people and love and life or whatever. And a song that I always really loved. I love that song. It was cool for us that made it onto a compilation, which was nice. So thanks for letting me squeeze this into the episode, Billy. Because again, I just want to play your shit, but
I'm
we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And I am always happy to share his Mighty Robot stuff with people. So off of our record, The Conflict, which caused me a near nervous breakdown, and after I finished it, I hopped on a plane by myself to Chicago and went there for a week just to escape.
It's draining, bearing your soul that
one
deeply.
Was really rough.
Yeah.
That one was really rough. I just don't know if it was timing or what, but God, that was a wild. Oh my God, that was a wild one. I kind of chuckle now, but it was really a wild one. But Connection of Fingers,
I get it, man.
I would love to play that. So thanks, Billy. Thanks for
thank you.
Thanks for steering this in my direction.
Thank you, beautiful
crazy.
H-Rocker.
Yeah, H-Rocker, man.
And the awesome His Mighty Robot.
I miss you so much, and I think about you all the time, and you're never forgotten. You left your legacy. You left this brilliant, crazy music behind. Connection of Fingers, here we go. Thanks. Straight up to the H-Rocker. Here we go. It does feel right. So yeah, that was a song. That was a great song, I think, and it's cool that I was a part of it. His Mighty Robot, man. God.
Now I'm also thinking about Ted Sheriff. How well did you know Ted Sheriff Theo?
Well,
because I met you, like I just was becoming friends with Theo at that time when I met you.
I think my other half went to high school with Ted, and I remember he used to DJ with a good friend, Chrono von Benken. DJ with
and
him.
He was as Descendant as an artist and as a DJ?
I remember that part of Ted. I don't have like the fondest memories of Ted, honestly, because anytime Ted was involved in anything that I knew about Ted, it was peculiar. So, I mean, I know Ted, but I don't know Ted well. You know, I mean, I know Ted. I know Ted is not here anymore as of like a year ago.
Yes. So being
God,
my memory,
this is quite the episode.
This is
man,
it's like people are going to be like,
"Holy moly,
let's have Billy Lamont on my show. We'll talk about death on the Friday the 13th.
Go pet a puppy." Christ, woo! My God, we went from this being the crazy ADD episode to like the darkest episode so far. If Monkey was here, he'd be like, "Christ, guys,
why does this always happen to me?"
Oh my God. I mean, I'm enjoying it because it's just
Ted
straight
as
up.
well, because he was
go ahead,
behind
do
me.
it.
You know what? It was at the Walt Whitman birthplace. You know, I love Walt Whitman.
He worked sound for that, didn't he?
And he did keyboards
right?
behind me. And when I first met Patti Smith in '94, I had a recording of Walt Whitman that Thomas Edison did. That it wasn't common. Now it was in a Levi's commercial, but on my new album, I always wanted to do it with Patti Smith, and I gave her the cassette tape, a long time ago. And I ended up doing it on Beyond Babylon. But that night, in the Walt Whitman birthplace is this tape of Thomas Edison. I gave it to my friend Alan Semerjian from Surreal.
The show that we've talked about a few times now. This is the same.
Yes.
Walt. This is you guys are going to want
I was
to
like, I played the Walt Whitman thing, and I was like, I sing the body electric, and he kicked into electronic music, and he played behind me, and we improvised. And so finally, it turned into like a bluesy hip hop song.
Does anybody have any sort of recordings of that show?
No.
Whether it's us or you?
No audio,
the only
no video.
document that exists is that beautiful, amazing picture that Steve Messina from Serial Poets just threw up on Facebook this week, which was funny timing because he didn't know that we were getting together this week to record this. It was just like the stars aligned, and it was kind of like foreshadowing to know that, you know, like, oh, you know, at the end of the week it holds a soda and Billy gathering finally after all this time of not seeing each other.
Now I have a few other pictures from that night from Steve Messina, but it's funny because I had like a happening of Beyond Babylon, and right after the Hurricane Sandy, and it was on 3 floors, and it was like such a deep, but like I don't think there's very few photographs, but if there was ever a time to have a video camera going, it was then. But sometimes you live in the moments, and they're in your memory.
Yeah, it's a memory. It's a fun gig.
Yep.
I love that gig. Like I said, I think about that gig a lot. I vividly see a lot of that gig, and I remember a warm reception that we received, and I remember, you know, performing behind you again, spontaneous.
I was on the board then, and I stepped down with my, you know, because I wanted to focus on, you know, my son, because he wanted my attention. He was about 6 at that time, and it's interesting. I should mention I'm going to be at the Walt Whitman birthplace tomorrow.
Really?
There's a book coming out. Being released, Bards
tomorrow, which is
Annual.
July 14th.
July 14th.
But be it that people probably won't hear this episode for, I don't know, a little while, because we have episode 12, which we're still yet to publish.
Okay.
So there's one before you. So I was saying to Monkey too before, and I had him on the phone. I was like, we got to get these out, man. We sat on the Stereo Assassin episode for like way too long. Again, like life just happens. Shit gets wild sometimes.
Same here.
But Monkey, man, come on. We got to get these episodes out. Anyway.
But so tomorrow night I'm going to be at the Walt Whitman birthplace as a part of like 74 poets. I'm one of the ones in this compilation book. And then it's exciting because in the coming week, you know, with my new book, Words Ripped from a Soul Still Bleeding, at the Barnes & Noble, I'm doing a multimedia thing with film
that's
and
insane.
with
that's amazing.
Electronic music. So I'd like to Ted Sheriff, give a shout out to Theo, Descendant. You know, I love you. He's, you know, you're another person that, you know how I feel. I mean, all these experiences have taken me to now, and I feel like I'm sort of being propelled upward to have. The main thing is to be in motion and to be doing what you're wired to do, you know, and you know, and it's challenging in life. But it seems at this moment, all these people, you know, we mentioned Allen Ginsberg or Mike from The Alarm, but Peter Garrett of Midnight Oil, who, you know, I recently saw him and he was yelling, "This guy is a great poet!" And like, you know, like I just saw Bono at Nassau Coliseum. I wrote a thing, you know, a poem for you too, and I mentioned him in a few things. And I figured maybe he'd be like, you know, maybe he'd remember me and be like, but he went like people like ready to jump on him. He kind of jumped on me and gave me a hug and kissed me on my right cheek and whispered something very personal in my ear. And these people, Larry Norman, Daniel Berrigan, the poet, and peace activist, all these people that maybe they wrote a quote for a book, maybe it's just from time we spent, like you meet a lot of people, the same thing, but it's shaped me to this moment. And, you know, some are still here, some aren't here.
Right.
And sometimes you think something's going to happen in another timing, and it doesn't, but it just feels like in this moment, almost like seeds that were sown into me in the process. So, you know, maybe I'm more ready now or whatever. But all our influences, you know, all our experiences shape us, you know? So our conversation now or our past friendship, it's all like a part of what's coming. And it just seems like this kind of crescendo coming for me. And I'm very grateful. And you know what, in my heart, it's the same as at the beginning. I want to, like, kind of give people hope. You know, be a voice for people.
Well, good. I mean,
we
that's
the
beautiful
people,
for sure. I mean, especially now.
Yeah,
you know,
reform myself.
So as
and
we
reform the world, so say locally, like I always did this Thanksgiving. The last time I saw Ted Sheriff at the Thanksgiving, I do poetry there for over 20 years in Bay Shore. So now I'm going to be doing the Barnes & Noble in Bay Shore, and it almost feels like the karma in all those years. I'm like, wow.
Culminated
it's like
to this.
Yeah, and why that area, and I'm like, wow, it's like, it's just good vibes, and
Well, it's great.
but say like nationally, sometimes you have the national reach, sometimes you don't, or internationally. So nationally, like, man, what's in my heart? Like, maybe the hungry on Long Island, maybe I wouldn't make great art, but in my heart, like all these things that have shaped me, man, if I could help some people that are hungry here, and then nationally, there's the American Indians, is this Wings of Eagles ministry in South Dakota, or like man, our country, maybe one of the reasons we're so violent is like the American Indian situation. Then internationally or nationally, just thinking about, so I love locally, I love our country, but I love the world. I'm a citizen of the world too. So like, what about with the climate change and what that's going to do to make more refugees, and what about the nuclear things? As a person of peace, so I feel like any influence that's given to me, these are the things that I have my eyes on. Doing great innovative work. But also, I almost feel like maybe to form a punk band. Like I have people, like money people, telling me that there's a certain thing that they want from me in a certain sound, but they like me because I'm innovative. But then they want me to do something. But at the same time, it's really kind of awesome. I would love to do what they want me to do. But there's a side of me that is very inspired, and it's almost like I feel like getting out there and just shooting my mouth off with like a punk band, like just to get it out. Like
amazing.
even if it's for an album,
Yeah. No, that's cool.
I need the right people to.
Maybe I could help you with that at some point. Who knows?
That would be awesome.
That's amazing. So we talked about a bunch. We briefly mentioned before we talked about the last CD, the Strobe Light Generation book, which was from 2004.
2005.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, this is when we kind of met each other. I remember you promoting that heavily. What came after that? Because again, I see that there's a whole bunch of Billy Goodies still at the corner of that table. What do we got?
Yes.
What's next? Pick it out.
So,
hand it over so I can get my grubby little fingers on it, and I could tell the kids at home.
These are re-released. Like the Peculiar People, you can get it as digital, but I think it's sold out as CD.
Yeah, well, right. Some things go out of print. What can you do? At least we can let them spread their wings digitally in this day and age. So that's a good thing.
It was around when I met you, Painkiller, which was an electronic album. And then the Gallery of Light as a CD. But Hedge of Thorns came, another EP, which I re-released last year because that got sold out.
Hedge of Thorns. No, it's okay. Yeah, right. I'm not even paying attention to that.
And I put a couple of spoken word things out. Renegade of Hope, Outlaw of Love.
Yeah. Oh my God. So
that brings us to like.
People tell me I've got a big fucking catalog. Look at this. Whoa.
I got 8 CDs and probably 3.
I love it. I love it.
Chapbook.
So where's the?
So now that brings us to like.
So wait,
3-4 years ago, Beyond Babylon.
Goodness. Yeah, give me that one.
You know what it was? I was
the
a
one
dad,
I wanted to. Here,
and I was
give me the Babylon one.
And this was something with Mike Peters that we got a Guinness World Record.
This is 4 years ago. The
when the heck was that now?
Beyond Babylon was.
Let me tell you
2013.
Let me tell you the story of that.
And I remember you did this whole thing at the Faith, our gig that we did together in the city. You performed
the Sidewalk Cafe,
the Sidewalk Cafe in whole with like a little bit of a light show. Your backing tracks.
Film.
I mean, it was like a little bit of a production. And I remember, I had this CD, but I think the owner of Vellum magazine that was with me that night, Steph Young, loved you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. She wrote a nice piece.
Man,
I don't see
Steph.
I was trying to get coverage for you because the Alarm, Lily, people loved you.
I know, man. That was
and
such
I wanted
a great
to see it
night.
turn into
Billy's friend Lily, who I met, was very gracious
blown away
of her what she said to me and how she felt about what I did that night. And it was really neat and it was nice, and I was just for me to touch one person, if not more, which I always hope to. Just the one. I mean, Lily she moved me that night. You know, she told me that I moved her, but she moved me, and I remember her in that.
And I was blown away. I remember I was taking photos of it and listening to you and video, because we were doing it on one of the live broadcast.
Yes.
I can't remember what that.
Yeah, I remember
Periscope.
You were trying.
And it's not archived anymore because you do it and it disappears.
I remember you were trying to link me up with the Alarm, and I remember her and you were both kind of like trying to investigate that. Mike Peters, right?
And there was also a magazine in the UK, and nothing clicked, but yet I can see that performance just blew us. Your performance blew us away.
Thank you.
And I think,
I'm so
Steve
happy
Vecina's
that,
performance,
you know,
and mine, it was all good. But
these
you,
things
man,
live
I didn't
on.
know with the situation with your mom, and when you did the song
Tribute, it's called
from
Tribute.
from Motion Pictures, I was just like,
I was
like a wreck after hearing that in a way, you know.
Jeez, that was one of my own solo songs that actually wound up being turned into an emotion picture song, and I have to thank the drummer for that at the time, because he loved the song, and he was like, "We have to do it with emotion picture," and I was like, "It's impossible. How are we going to do this?" As far as like singer-songwriter songs go, it was one of the most quietest, finger-picking, super, sad songs that I wrote.
So how's it going to interpret into a band?
We did it. TT, the drummer, was behind it, wanted to do it. So I was like, what the hell, we'll figure it out. We did it. And Emotion Picture did a really cool version of that song, too, a powerful version of that song. I was just happy to but to be playing it with Emotion Picture and giving it to people when we played, because it was a song, about missing people you love. It's called Tribute, and it's fondly remembering those that we've lost. And
to me,
every time
it
I play that song,
defines like the the love, hope, strength. The whole cause we were there.
So cool.
I didn't even know the situation.
Yeah.
But it was like, it just was powerful and passionate and real. And I think that vibration will still turn into other things. But I wanted to say is, what was the woman from Vellum's name again?
Stephanie Young.
She's awesome.
She is awesome.
How's she doing?
She lives down south now. Her and I were joined at the hip for years because we were 110% supporting everything that the other one was doing. If she was doing an art show, she was having me or Emotion Picture play at it. And if I was doing something, I was talking about Vellum Magazine, like I'm talking about Vellum Magazine right now.
Yes.
It's a brilliant publication. She's a hard worker. She's gotten that thing all over the world. I mean, it's got its own wings at this point. I spoke to her very briefly, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, just via text. I'm not any farther away from her as a friend goes, you know what I mean? She lives 13 hours away now. But, she's still like a giant piece of my life, my heart, and you know what I mean? If she listens to these shows, hopefully she'll hear this and she'll know that,
Hey, Stephanie.
Vellum Magazine is great. Billy is
Vellum rocks.
Billy loves Vellum, and I remember you being very fond of Billy from that specific night, the Love, Hope, Faith. Am I saying that out of order?
Strength. Love, Hope, Strength
show, which was again one of those very special nights where we all came together, and some of us met each other for the first time that night and became enthusiasts of each other's work. You and Steph Vellum. I call her Steph Vellum. She's Stephanie. I always call her Steph Vellum. When I send her shit, like I send her just random shit in the mail, I'm like, Steph Vellum, throw it on an envelope. But yeah, Vellum Magazine is wonderful, and I know you've heard me mention that a bunch of times. People that hear me say anything, so Vellum Magazine, check that out.
You know what I feel like as artists, sometimes we go to this like mountaintop or our spiritual side, But it's like, I touch on this a lot in my new book, Words Ripped from a Soul Still Bleeding, about the power of community. Stay connected, stay connected, stay connected. You know, let's, like Gandhi said, let's be the peace, let's be the love. You know, like Jesus says, Martin Luther King, you know, let's be the peace. And I think in our journey, that's one of the, you know, maybe people that are into sports experience that through teams and you know, like, but like experiencing that is a really a beautiful side of being an artist. I've met so many amazing people, you know, and you know, it's you know, it's weird. It could be like a solitary thing, but then say you're promoting things, it's more like one of the reasons I'm like, because I have this event next week, I'm like, it almost feels like I'm burning the candle at both ends. I'm working through the night and I'm doing.
Yeah, but that's okay though. I mean, not to always do that, but it's good to do that. You know,
to be connected to community,
just to be out there and working and busting your butt. I mean, some of my favorite times of my life have been like when I've been working like crazy around the clock on a project. But I want to get into, because we played a few things, but I want to play something off of this Beyond Babylon CD. Is this the latest?
Yes.
Audio release of yours?
Yes.
Right. It's only a couple years old. This is from that night that we talked about, that we played together in the city, where we, you know, came together and made new friends that night.
Actually, when at the Barnes and Noble, when I do
entirety.
The last time when I did the book review, I did a few songs from this with the video and stuff. But I'm actually going to perform the whole thing at the Barnes and Noble in Bay Shore on July 9th. I'm not sure what this is probably going to air after that.
Yeah,
on July 19th.
It's a bummer. But yeah, we're going to talk about that too. But what can we play off of this right now, though?
Okay. Now, should I play something from Black
I know
to
it's
Cashmere?
hard to pick these apart because they're almost like a whole piece. But
how about Scattered Dizzy with Les Prairies Noires?
Scattered Dizzy. Scattered Dizzy. I think oh my God, have I been keeping track of everything?
Second track.
Scattered Dizzy. So yeah, introduce it for us, Billy. Go ahead.
Okay,
take the reins.
There's a great artist, Les Prairies Noires, and we collaborated on this, Scattered Dizzy, and we made a music video. Great video director, Scott Perry, and this album. I was a single dad, and I actually recorded it for $50 at Blockhead Studio in Deer Park. Just
that's
being
so
like,
that's like when Nirvana recorded Bleach for like $600, and it's like, dude, that shit doesn't happen anymore.
Album.
That fucking album is unreal. I listened to that this morning on cassette, mind you, kids. Cassette tapes. Vinyl is popular again. Some people are making cassette tapes on like record store day. They release these like fun kitschy things just. So people get their hands on them and grab them because
and mixed tapes is kind of an art
are
to
fun,
it,
man. I love old shit.
R.S. Pearson, a great writer from Seattle, in Seattle now, but he was actually originally from West Islip. He was at Nirvana's first gig. And he was friends with
really,
yeah,
sick.
And he was telling Kurt Cobain how much he loved it, and Kurt Cobain was holding his hand. He's like, tell this person, bringing him around, and think about. Yeah, Kurt, just the influence. Yeah. Now, the guy that was back with me, Larry
Kurt.
Norman,
I miss Kurt so much too.
An influence on the Pixies, and the Pixies influenced them. And like I kind of like tracing things to their roots, and it's just interesting when you think about it. But what genius! But I recorded this for $50, thinking it was for my son.
This whole CD.
Yeah, just the poetry. Actually, just the poetry. Okay. But what happened is a lot of people had home studios, and then we did things. Yep. You know, that kind of thing.
There's ways to do things more on the cheap now, just because everybody, any idiot with a computer, and I say that fondly, I guess, any idiot with a computer can fucking do a thing now, and it could be the big thing. Who knows? You could put like endless amounts of your life into like one of your books here, and you know, you have like a 16-year-old like it's Friday or whatever the hell that girl sang about that went viral and shit.
Yeah.
And you kind of sit there and you're like, God damn, what am I doing wrong? It's just, it's luck. A lot of that stuff. But anyway,
But what
the
happened? I
ADD
recorded
episode. The ADD episode continues. I need you to
What were
cut
we
to the
talking
chase,
about again?
Mr. Billy, and introduce this damn song because we're going to
We're
play
gonna write
it.
a punk song. We got ADD.
Yeah, that's the next.
What were we
that's it.
talking
What is
about
our
again?
band?
We got ADD.
Oh my god! Holy moly! This is. I'm going to listen back to this, and I'm going to be like, "Holy shit!" I need to I don't know.
It's gonna end up being 2 minutes because it's all gonna be on the cutting room floor.
Our episodes
But
of
what
Music
happened-
Survival Guide are sometimes kind of long too, and I'm kind of watching the clock
that's
here, and
good.
it's fine. I love a long episode, but I understand too that people sometimes gotta they go through their entire day. They'll spend a little breakfast on an episode, a little lunch, and a little dinner. because it's
They may have to.
it's
the
a
whole
meal.
summer
These
break
things are
might
an
be
effing meal. You know what I mean? God bless those who sit there for 2.5 hours or whatever the episodes might be as far as length goes and listen to the whole thing. It's awesome. Thanks for giving
Thank
a shit.
you.
But yes, introduce this song to us. We're not going to ADD this moment. You're going to introduce this song, and this is what we're going to play.
Okay.
That's it, Billy. You have an assignment.
Okay.
I know. That's disappointing.
All right.
How out of character for us right now. But what are we
This
doing?
is Scattered Dizzy, and with music by Les Pré Noir from my last album, Beyond Babylon. Fighting unclear. Out of focus mind is scattered. As this New York City heart has been shattered. How do I get my heart beating again? Where is all my passion gone? It takes all my energy just trying to survive. It's time to be alive. I'm feeling dizzy. I need to sit down. Sacred heart is beating, but I can't hear the sound. I'm dizzy, dizzy. Everything is spinning around. Need time to think. Process all this information overload. Not sleeping for days like slow torture. I will never implode. What's worse, greed or fear? Feeling the heaviness that gives birth to compassion right here. I'm feeling dizzy. I need to slow down. Sacred heart is beating, but I can't hear the sound. I'm dizzy, dizzy. Everything is spinning around. Soundbite thought pattern. We will uncover the truth beneath. Awaken the wisdom in this chaos. Find the underlying love, silence, and peace in the noise. My arms are bruised, but will never tire of upholding life. All life was formed, has become deformed, needs to be reformed. All life and creation can be redeemed. I'm feeling dizzy. I need to sit down. Sacred heart is beating, beating, but I can't hear the sound. I'm dizzy, dizzy. Everything is spinning around. Love, when will this fever finally break? Love, touch me and soothe this heartache. Love, give love. Love, give love. God is as close as your breath, as close as every beat of your heart. Can you see the wisdom, my blood on these pages? My poems are like fragments of light, tiny pieces of my soul on paper.
Okay, you got to come in with the snaps, right? After that stuff. Does that still happen? Do people just snap at the poetry gatherings?
Poetry. Yeah.
I love it. I love it, man. Like these.
You know why they used to do that?
Wonderful things.
Do you know why they used to do that?
I don't. To educate me, Billy.
Yeah, the beat poets. A lot of times there was too much noise in the places in the buildings where they were gathering. So instead of clapping, they would snap. And to me, it just seemed so cool because they had the attitude, and
so
they were
cool.
like,
I see,
you
like,
see them in these
like
black
a little
and white
beret,
pictures.
and the shades with some Earl Grey. It's a total image. Like I see a whole thing. Funny. This is going to be so silly. Do you remember the cartoon Doug from Nickelodeon?
Yes.
Judy, his sister, Doug's sister, was super
She had the
beatnik.
beat vibe, yeah.
Man. Oh my God, that's like the
What you have
whole.
in your
That's
mind.
the image that I have in my brain is Judy funny. When I think of like beat poets and stuff, I think of Doug.
You know
So
what I
funny.
think on the positive side, we poke fun of a lot of things we love and stuff like that. But on the other side, sometimes I feel like counterculture or people in subcultures that sometimes they try to take away their steam a little bit. Like like say a hipster used to be. And pop culture now, like hipster is kind of made fun of, but like where it used to be, like that's
hipster is
like
made fun
a
of.
witty, intelligent person. The Beats, I think they were shaking things up so much. I mean, they inspired the Beatles. Even the name Beat, Buddy Holly and the Crickets and the Beats. But I think people were afraid of it, so they with Dobie Gillis and these different things, they kind of spoofed it. But yet, it's also fun because. But I just love things we love. We have a sense of humor about and go and my son's connecting with Hunter S. Thompson, which was almost like the next generation Beats, where maybe
cool.
I connected like the jazz in the language of Kerouac or Ginsberg. But it could be today poetry, rap, rhythm and poetry. There's you invent your own language. There could be a rhythm to it. Maybe there's meter.
Sure.
If it's Shakespeare, it could be iambic pentameter, but it could be in hip hop. It could be
that's cool.
Like scratching on a turntable or whatever that's evolved into.
Wicka, wicka. Yep.
Yeah,
That's cool.
and what's wild in Shakespeare's time? It sounds like such great, grand language.
Right.
But it was the language of the people. They would actually iambic pentameter, and iamb, that's like a beat of a heart, to dum, and it happens penta 5 times. So to dum 5 times, 10 beats.
So for those
and it's
of you
they
that wanted to have that picked apart iambic pentameter, Billy just did that for you, which is super cool.
And they would beat their beer mugs on the counter, tap, 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 tap. So it's just like you as a kid,
it's very
you as a
human,
kid finding whatever toys.
Right.
Every generation, we could be around the campfire. We have candles, but we're around the technology. But it's like something in our essence,
That's beautiful. Well, that brings us to all of this, this crazy, wonderful episode. My God, brings us to your latest book. Really?
Yes.
Can I see that thing now too?
I actually give you a thank you in the book.
Really?
In the beginning, yes.
Oh, what? Can I peek?
Yep.
Can I look?
It's on the acknowledgement page.
Now, all right, real quick though, the cover of this, is this an old photograph?
Yes, and
Because
it's
this
DJ
is
Circuit.
in that 1998
Yep.
21st Century CD. Okay.
Now, isn't the beauty of art
kids,
within the art?
Let me tell you the story.
Art.
Not tell you the story, but let me tell you about this fucking photograph. Is that this shit is 20 years old. Billy Lamont looks exactly the same.
I'm
Are
like
you
Peter
a
Pan.
motherfucking vampire? Do we not know that? Because I don't think I ever see you at nighttime.
That's because I'm working. That's because I work through the
man.
night.
That's clean living. That's being spiritual. That's taking care of yourself. It's amazing, Billy. You look the same.
To me,
it's wild.
I've aged, but I feel that
You've aged
my
very
spiritual
well.
life.
You've aged very
thank
well,
you.
and there's lots of different. I love the. I want to say that the Beyond Babylon, the rugged look, the very sexy, stubbly shades, serious
The short
man
hair.
on the cover. it's a great cover. It's a great picture.
I got to say, at Looney
I love
Tunes,
black and white, man.
We love the records of Looney Tunes, and when I saw you
Oh,
again
yeah,
after
for
I had
sure.
not seen you for a while, as I was doing,
Yes, we ran
I was
into each
performing
other
some
in
of the
Looney
Beyond-
Tunes after not seeing each other for a long time, and I came to see that performance
and
of yours.
seeing you in the audience meant that's another great memory. That it was like, as I was reciting, it was just like such a special day, and you. I didn't know you were going to be there, and you popping up meant a lot, and. But as an artist, these different periods, Picasso had all his different periods, or The Cure, or U2, or
Right.
Whoever, Jack White, he was the White Stripes,
Right.
like these different periods. What I love about this is DJ Circuit, who did the art. He was a friend of mine. He was an artist, and he did an art exhibit in Stony Brook, and I had met him in Port Jeff. But he's DJ Circuit. He used to spin a caffeine, and
Cool.
We were friends, such a long time, and he did all the artwork on Into the 21st Century. But he also did the mix the first times that I was performing the Gallery of Light, the 40-minute poem, and we did it at the Sage Cafe in 97, CD release for Into the 21st Century 98. So now, after all these years, he did the Peculiar People cover. So whether he was DJing or doing a second voice to a piece, he's a collaborator that I feel probably how you feel, similar, not exactly the same as H-Rocker. And he would echo me, and we would be in the car, and he's like such a big part of my artwork. So he ended up doing this cover. So it's so cool because this book is about the theme is poetry that breaks down the fourth wall of performance, art, culture, and perception. And isn't it interesting when there's art, like the art within the art, within the art, within the art? So here's this older picture, and it's kind of unclear and worn, and words ripped from a soul still bleeding. And what's the thing that you could see? The microphone.
Yeah, that's kind of the focal point on the cover of this, which is cool. That the poet has a microphone in his hand on the cover of Words Ripped from a Soul Still Bleeding. Great title.
And I think it's just
we're here on the Music Survival Guide, and Music Survival Guide needs a microphone because that's I mean.
Yeah.
Although we're being picked up quite nice, I believe, on my laptop too. But yes, the microphone is the focal point on this brand new book that's hot off the presses from Billy Lamont. And now, the 19th of July, right, in a few days, you will
Thursday.
be performing locally at a Barnes & Noble.
Yes.
What are you going to do? Like, what's the plan for that? You're going to sign this thing, you're going to sell this thing, you're going to read from this thing, you're going to perform what?
Yes. So artistically, like when I used to tour around, a lot of, like, say the late 80s, there were a lot of poets in the 60s, then in the 90s, with the whole Lollapalooza in that time, the spoken word scene exploded. So a lot of times I was the first poet that a lot of people met. So in the malls, I would lay in the fetal position, be a performance poet, like really
nice. That's
so I was like,
cool.
how can I make this special? So they've been great. So I got it's almost like Strobe Light Generation was more internet based, but with Ingram in the other book, the Gallery of Light was like I'd go to these cities, and they'd have walls of the book. So this is somewhere like in between. Ingram's distributing it, but we're in a different time. And Barnes & Noble, so it's a continuation of our relationship. So I'm thinking, innovatively, and I'm like, well, what, like really at the turn of the century, what would Blake be doing? He did stuff with drawings, and he wrote, and so that's why I came up with slides, and then film, and then the electronic music. It was like what Hendrix did with the guitar, people were doing with the keyboards, and I was into Skinny Puppy, because Bill Pullers turned me on to it. So I'm like, what can I do? So I felt like at this multimedia thing, it's really well sunk up, like at the Sidewalk Cafe with the music.
The Sidewalk Cafe, the infamous show that we keep talking about, that and the Walt Whitman one, great shows. You're going to do a whole bunch of stuff.
So
I wish that I almost wish that this was live, because if someone was tuning in, they might be like, "Holy crap! I've listened to this whole 2.5-hour episode of this wild show, and these lunatics totally flying off the rails every other second. I gotta go see what this guy's gonna do." But unfortunately, this episode might not even air until August or whatever.
I think in the back of my mind, it gave me a goal, because I was like, let me do certain things, because I'm thinking, okay, leading up to, but this is what it's supposed to be. And I really had no preconceived when I realized it wasn't beforehand or whatever. But really, it doesn't matter. But it's just something. If we're capturing a photograph of this time, I'm very excited about this, and I believe this is going to lead to other things. And it's also my birthday, so it's like
when is your birthday?
Really
19th is your birthday.
Yeah, but
happy birthday.
Thank you. It's about. I want to inspire other people. My birthdays have never been a big deal to me.
That's cool.
But I just feel like it's a milestone, kind of like,
it's going to be, because you're doing something amazing. Words Ripped from a Soul Still Bleeding is the latest release of yours. A book, not an audio thing as of yet, which you have more audio planned for releasing.
What I'm feeling is so much inspiration, but it's coming out in different forms. So it depends on really the musicians and what. There's something I envision.
Well, let me know.
I have so much inspiration.
I can totally be a part of that. I know that Monkey would probably love to be a part of that. He's a multi-instrumentalist. He's an amazing drummer.
Wow.
So let us know. We could always do something for you.
Oh, man. Thank you. Yeah, I think some of the stuff from this would be great, or even new stuff. But I'm feeling it. I'm thinking maybe I should go back to singing too, but
that's
we'll
cool.
See.
Well, we'll see. Every door is open. We should probably start to wind down this episode, because we're almost at 2 hours, and we got to put the songs in
we
there.
got to like 1994.
So we're gonna, this is another meal. I think the longest episode so far was the episode I did with Andy Blacksugar from KMFDM. But I think.
Oh wow!
And that's another amazing episode. We talked a lot about a lot of great stuff.
Was it like
we went to Brooklyn. He opened up the door of his home and let me and Monkey in, and we did a really amazing episode. It was so fun to hang and talk to Andy.
I gotta hear that one.
So that's you gotta listen to that one.
I want to hear
Billy,
them all
for sure.
But
thanks.
that
you
one
should.
I'm like, I'm like, oh boy, I want to.
Andy's episode is great. Trist's episode is great. They're all really great episodes.
Prince,
I think
that
the
was...
Prince dedication that we did was great. I think they're all really special. I think they're all important. I think that our show is really great because it's natural. It's there's no bullshit that's involved with this thing. It's very casual. I have great conversations with my guests. This is something that I think I would sit and listen to. You know what I mean? Everything that I do, I always kind of like, well, would I like it? You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I want to make sure that I would like it. I don't want to just put something out because whatever. Some people just do it because they're asked to do it, or they're thrown some money to do it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Nobody throws me any money to do anything, quite honestly.
Thank you for the freedom.
I will thank you for finally, meeting up with me to do this, for reconnecting, for this wonderful conversation. Words from a Soul Still Bleeding, I'm going to say it one more time, is the latest book. You can get it at Billy Lamont, LAMONT.com, correct?
Yes.
That's the best place that we should send people to that want to learn about you, right?
Maybe I want to show the sales. I would make probably a little more on it, but I think I'd rather with the BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com would be better.
So you could search at Barnes and Noble or Amazon to buy the book.
But feel free to BillyLamont.com. I could send someone an autograph, like a personalized copy or something.
Right, you can get a personalized copy. You can navigate around his world, learn more about the music. the poetry, the man behind all this madness, this wonderful madness.
My beautiful mess, or as in one of my poems, this oxymoron.
Yeah, I always get a kick out of your wordplay. Anything else that we should know? Anything else you want to say? Because we're going to wind this down. What do you think?
Just thank you for listening, and
yes, thank
I love
you for
you a lot,
listening for sure.
And I feel like this is wonderful. Support this podcast,
Thanks.
and this was an excellent
what Billy Lamont
moment,
says, guys.
an intimate moment, and thank you for a wonderful evening, and thank you for listening in, and I hope to meet you at either one of Soda's shows or one of mine, or maybe maybe this will be the seed of a band, or something. Project, yeah.
So BillyLamont.com is where you want to go. MusicSurvivalGuide.org is a fresh site for the Music Survival Guide. It was only on WordPress previously, but we graduated to our own site. OfficialSoda.com, of course, you've heard me say it 1,000 times, is where you can go for a number of other things. Thank you for listening to this. If you've listened since the first episode, this is episode 13. We do these as frequently as we can. There might be a month that goes by before we record another episode, but we've got 2 fresh ones in the bag that are amazing, that are going to be coming out. DA from Shinobi Ninja is up next, episode number 12, followed shortly by this episode number 13 on Friday the 13th. The cursed episode, the wonderfully cursed episode. We're wonderfully cursed to be here tonight, to be sharing this. It started off kind of rocky. When Billy got here, I went and took Monkey's daughter to get ice cream. So I was like, Billy, just wait downstairs. It's total chaos right now. Nothing is working. Monkey's kid wants ice cream. It's just really funny.
Bono has a line that he said, not to me, but in an interview, that intimacy is the new punk rock, and that's how this
cool.
feels.
No, that's
and it's
like
when
it started off totally fucking
sweaty
punk rock.
room. But it's like, you know what? I prefer this. It's real, and it's this, and like with Dan Facino, these intimate interviews. But I know there's going to be the more official ones that will propel more people to hear. But this,
sure.
I think this is a photograph. It's going to be. It's like your albums and my albums. Sometimes it might seem to us like, oh man, boy, the artist's path is a hard path. But I believe it's like it's preserved, and it's gonna. This conversation will resonate for years to come.
This is preserved now. I mean, it's recorded. It's going to go up on YouTube. It's going to go up on the Music Survival Guide website. And it will live forever because
have a life
it's going to
of
go
its
on the
own
internet
and bring life
and
to other people.
It's just it's going to
Think
spread
about
its
it, we're
wings and
energy,
it's going to go around.
And in the cell, it's the electrons what is energy, and then it's actually they found out it was music. So we each have our own song. So this vibration is going to ring true, vibrate true.
For sure, feel the vibration. Usually, we go out on a song. I think has been the routine here at Music Survival Guide. But you know what? Take this from me. I don't know what you have committed to memory and what you don't. But Billy, take us out on a poem.
Okay.
Whether it's 20 years old or it's yesterday's poem or whatever, give it to us. A special performance right here on Music Survival Guide from Billy Lamont. We've never had anybody perform on the show a song yet, but this is going to be our first performance in our little quote-unquote studio here. So this is how we're ending the show. Thank you, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Here's Billy Lamont. Do it. Give it to us. Introduce it. Recite it. And thank you so much.
Awesome. The theme of this book, Words from Soul Still Bleeding, is basically how may your very soul be a great poem. Our life is a message. Like Leonard Cohen has a line about there's a crack in everything God made. That's how the light gets in. But I feel almost like the roughness of this book, it bleeding, the light gets out. But even if its darkness comes out, it's okay, because there's like a healing in that, you know, and there's, you know, whether it's, there should be more accountability if it's a company or a charity or even as a person. Like when I pray, you know, penance or whatever, you know, transparency is a great thing. So I picked this poem because it's one of my favorite new ones.
Awesome.
And it's a villanelle, which is song-like. You know, it has it's iambic
Very
pentameter.
appropriate.
It's and you know, like Dylan Thomas's "Do Not Go Gentle into the Good Night," or Sylvia Plath has one about going mad and stuff like this. And the type of poem is called a villanelle, and this is called "Hero or Villain of My Villanelle."
Thank you, Billy. Here we go.
You decide, sheep or goat, heaven or hell. Break down the fourth wall of art and culture. Hero or villain of my villanelle. Truth comes like ringing the Liberty Bell. Propaganda kills like a mad vulture. You decide, sheep or goat, heaven or hell. A turtle leaves the cover of his shell. A diamond forms under extreme pressure. Hero or villain of my villanelle. Thirsty lips taste cool water from a well. Dignity offers hope, something more pure. You decide, sheep or goat, heaven or hell. Poems bleed from my veins like ink from inkwells. Open wounds held to the light like torture. Hero or villain of my villanelle. My words vibrate and create, can you tell? Naked heart transparent without closure. You decide, sheep or goat, heaven or hell. Hero or villain of my villanelle. Love and life to everyone out there. Have a nice night.